Welcome back into another episode of NA Now. Brandon Hofstra joined here with Northeast Generals head coach Bryan Erikson. Bryan, first off, thanks for doing this. You want to fill us in on how the summer's been with going from, I guess, the playoffs into the draft and et cetera, getting ready for this upcoming season?
Yeah, welcome. Thanks, Brandon. It's always nice to see you in this early in the morning. And
Mhm.
it's been like every off season, it's a grind. We don't really get an off season. We go literally right in from the Robertson Cup. We go right to the draft. We go right to camps, and then hopefully we get a couple weeks to plan for training camp. And
Yep.
here sitting here with about a week to go before a players report. But it's been exciting. Every year you get that prospect of you know, something new in the air, and you're hoping that, this leads to that run that you want. And just we're excited to get going.
Yeah. Speaking of last season as well, you guys had at least 10 NCAA commitments, a few guys that were alumni that moved on to other teams, what have you. But you've been around this league for a while. It's always great. And that feeling, I'm sure, of excitement and just the rewarding part of being a coach, seeing guys move on to that next level just never gets old, right?
It's probably one of our favorite calls, coach, I'm committing to, or
Mhm.
even just, when a college coach calls you, hey, I'd like to talk to, so and so. And it's rewarding. And that's Division One, that's Division Three. We had our first alumni draft in the NHL draft. And, that was exciting. We've had, NA3 guys go to the pros, we've had NA guys go to the pros. And, all of this, following their journeys, even 10 years later, it's the best. I mean, it's the best part of the job. It's never gets old. And it's the reason why most of us get up in the morning and strive to do this job.
Right. Brian, the offseason came and went, like you alluded to earlier. What were some of the areas of your roster that you and your staff kind of paid attention to and needed to fill some holes? And again, back to the NAHL draft, the tender system, and then your guys' team have an NA3HL squad right in the building as well.
Yeah. So, last year we kind of assessed ourselves and thought we might be, a little soft and, not that we didn't have kids that played hard and worked hard and, but we wanted to get grittier and harder to play against and even a little bit older. If you look at the rosters of the teams that make the Robertson Cup championship, they're mainly within that last 2 years, age out in the year before.
Mhm.
So our big priority was getting some kids with junior hockey experience in here. We didn't take a ton of kids that hadn't played games at junior level. We're gonna be a nightmare for teams, and whether that shows up on the score sheet or not, I don't know. But we're gonna be finishing checks. We're gonna be hard to play against. We're gonna bring some old school hockey back to Massachusetts, and we're really excited about what we've got. We've named our captains. We're ready to rock and roll, and we're ready to really hit the ground running on day one and kind of show everybody that 2 points is going to be a nightmare each night, and that includes, us trying to get it, but the other team's going to know that when they play the Northeast Generals, they're going to be in for a battle for 60 minutes.
Love that. Let's talk about the East Division. Obviously, the last two seasons, it's been the Maryland Black Bears that have taken the title as the champions of the East. But division continues to grow. We saw New Hampshire welcomed in. Now, this upcoming year, we have the Elmira Aviators. What's that like to just continue to see this division grow? You're up to 10 teams now, so it's kind of any given Sunday you get face off against somebody different. Unlike a lot of other divisions in our league where they see familiar faces week in and week out.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. When I came in, this will be our ninth year in the North American League. We were the fifth team in the East, and now all of a sudden, 9 years later, to go to 10. With the addition of Rochester and New Hampshire last year, and obviously, like you said, Elmira this year, it's great. And I see the work they're putting in. I see the teams that they're putting together. These aren't going to be typical expansion teams. I mean, these are operators that know what they're doing. They know how to build a franchise, and the exciting part is you're not playing the same team 12, 14 times. We're playing teams, 4 times, 5 times a year, create some rivalry, and then obviously, it's harder to make the playoffs. It makes it every game, every 2 points hard. Last year we made it by the skin of our teeth. And, as coaching staff at the end of the day, you go back and you circle the 8 games that, you should have won or could have won or whatever. And you go, that's the difference between being the 5 seed and the 2 seed or and that's going to be a real point of emphasis from us for day one is, the East Division, there's no such thing as an easy game. I mean, every team in our division comes to play. Every team's well coached. Every team's well owned, and the player experience is what separates us here. I think in the North American Hockey League, and I think all 10 teams in the East do a great job of highlighting that player experience.
Yeah, the league preaches a lot about development, exposure, advancement. What does that mean to you, and what do the Northeast Generals do that's different than any other NAHL team?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do a lot of things different. That doesn't necessarily mean better, but it does mean that, we're focused 100%, and I tell this kids all the time, as much as we care about the logo on the front of the jersey, we care a lot about the name on the back of the jersey. We're not going to put the generals in front of and before our players. It's a player-driven team. It's a family. We've all had kids that have played within the generals organization, myself, my NA3 coach, my ownership group. We've all kind of, we make decisions based on we put our kid in that position. So number one thing is development. If you come here and you don't get better, then I failed. It doesn't matter if we win 60 games, it doesn't matter if we lose 60 games. If you haven't gotten better, both on and off the ice, then I've failed. And I've got a great staff with Aaron Murray and Frank O'Connor who, we have so much extra ice and give these kids an opportunity to, improve tremendously. So for us, the development part, the exposure part's pretty easy on the East, meaning, we're in the middle of Division 1 and all it takes is picking up some phones and, sending some emails.
Right.
And then commitment, as I tell kids, I can get any coach in the building. I can't get them to like you. So, part of what we try to do is we do all that work during the week. We do all that extra work on the ice with kids one-on-one. We get feedback from Division 1 coaches that say, I like them, but I'd like them to work on these 3 areas. Then we get to work on those 3 areas and we get the coach back. So it's really up to the player, but it's up to us as an organization to make sure we're putting that development plan in place and letting the players execute it.
Bryan, the NAHL is entering its 50th season, its golden birthday, if you will. What comes to mind when you think 50 years of the North American Hockey League?
It's kind of nuts. I mean, and just even in our 9 years, I obviously, growing up on the East Coast, there wasn't a lot of North American Hockey League teams out here, when I
Mhm.
was growing up. But you knew about the league, you knew how good it was, you knew that even back, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, it was a league where if kids wanted to be ready to play college hockey, it was a great stepping stone. There are a lot of leagues that push kids to college hockey, and those are great. But as far as kids being ready to play day one once they enter college, and I think there's no better league than the NA that really creates that tight college atmosphere, hard to play against. You're fighting for inches, and 50 years is amazing. I mean, I can't believe we're sitting here with, year 9 and you go back 41 years and, I can't believe Frankie's been the commissioner for 50 years. He looks pretty good for his age. So it's really great for us that, that we're a part of this. We're a small part, and it's easy to it's easy to forget all the people that built this league before you, and we're seeing it here in the East. You're getting some markets back that, had been markets
Mhm.
previously, and now they're coming back. And then we're expanding to Maryland, and we're up in Maine, and it's really remarkable. And the one big difference between the NA, what separates it, is every team operates in a professional manner. Every team is ready to play, and you don't have the haves and the have-nots. You might have teams with down years and teams with up years, but when you go to play, everybody takes pride in that patch on the shoulder that says North American Hockey League, and we know what it means to have that honor of coaching this in this league, and we want to make sure that we sustain it for the next 50 years.
Yeah, well said. Season is quickly coming upon us. Like I said earlier, the summer's come and gone, but the NHL Showcase, the greatest show on ice, kicks off in September. You ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, it's probably one of the most nerve-wracking events. There's a lot of pressure put on kids. There's a lot of pressure put on our coaching staffs. We want to go out there. We want to be ready. We want to be running systems. We want to look like they're well coached. We want them to, to play well. And, we have a leadership group of Ben Campo, Jake Gutworth, and Jack Demora, who, all played here. They all know the ins and outs. And I think it's so important to establish that leadership before that showcase, just for those kids being able, it's one thing for me to preach what it's about, the nerves, making sure your shifts are short, making sure you're doing simple plays. It's
Right.
another thing for guys that have played in this league, guys that have gotten commitments, guys that have gotten interest from colleges to be preaching that same thing, because there's nothing better than looking up and you see 64 Division 1 scouts, you see 100 Division 3 scouts, you see the USHL, NA, NHL. It's amazing. And then you couple it in with the parents and with the job that the league does as far as interviews and just exposure. I mean, it's a really unreal, surreal event, and you don't really know how great it is until you get out there. And we're excited. We're happy that we play a few games beforehand, hopefully get some cobwebs off. But we're really pumped for the greatest show on ice.
Yeah, we're pumped as well. And thanks again for doing this. We'll see you in a couple weeks coming up in September. Thanks again.
Thanks, Brandon.